12 ounces of $3,800 wine, a ruined $650 million deal, and 3 people laughing at their own destruction. They had no idea what they'd just triggered. But this story doesn't start with wine. It starts with invisibility. 6 hours earlier, I stood 3 feet away from power, close enough to hear everything, invisible enough that they forgot I existed. My name is Marie. I'm a sommelier. For 11 years, I've served the elite in Seoul's most exclusive restaurant. These hands? They've poured wines worth more than most people make in a lifetime. But to them, I'm furniture. Picture this: soft jazz mixing with expensive silence, crystal chandeliers catching the golden hour light, the air thick with the smell of truffle, aged wine, and old money. White tablecloths so heavy they could be blankets, silverware that weighs like weapons, and conversations, hushed, careful conversations worth billions. Table 12, our most private corner, where fortunes changed hands and I became part of the wallpaper. 4:47 p.m., the reservation came through. Park family, +1. Grace Okonkwo, CEO, Meridian Capital. My hands went cold, not because of the Parks, I knew them. Old money, the kind that doesn't just open doors, it owns the building. But Grace Okonkwo? The only Black woman running a top 5 private equity firm. Forbes cover last month. $650 million on the table tonight. What I didn't know, this dinner would end with blood in the water and a fortune lost. 2 empires, 1 table, 1 night that would prove money can't buy dignity. Before we see how a handshake became a war zone, drop your location below. Where are you watching from? And subscribe right now, because what happens in the next 12 minutes will restore your faith in karma. 11 years I've worked here. 3 languages fluent: English, French, Korean. Certified sommelier. I know wine better than most of these clients ever will. I've poured for presidents and criminals, watched proposals and divorce negotiations, served champagne at celebrations, and witnessed betrayals over dessert. The Parks? I knew them well. Jin-woo used to snap his fingers at our head chef like he was calling a dog. Never said please, never said thank you. None of them did. In rooms like this, I'm not a person. I'm a function. Pour the water, explain the wine, disappear. I read people through micro-expressions, the way they hold their glass, the pauses between words, the smiles that don't reach their eyes. 11 years, I perfected the art of invisibility. But that night, I saw everything. Grace arrived with a Mont Blanc pen, same model Mr. Park carried. I didn't think much of it then. By 9 p.m., that detail would mean everything. And that tablet she carried, the one with the cracked screen, it held projections worth $2 billion. In 30 minutes, wine would destroy it. But that wasn't the real tragedy. 7:15 p.m. The Parks arrived. Mr. and Mrs. Park in matching Hermes. Coordinated wealth. Old money walking in formation. Jin-woo wore a Supreme hoodie under a $4,000 blazer. Privilege dressed as casual. Mrs. Park touched her pearl necklace. Once, twice, 3 times. Her tell. She was nervous. Mr. Park checked his Patek Philippe watch. Jin-woo stayed on his phone, barely acknowledging our existence. Their entrance screamed entitlement. Then Grace walked in. Navy suit, natural hair, a presence that didn't ask for space, it commanded it. And she did something I'd seen maybe 5 times in 11 years. She looked directly at me and said, "Good evening. Thank you for accommodating us." She saw me. As a person. Jin-woo's jaw tightened the second she spoke. Mrs. Park's hand went back to those pearls. Mr. Park's smile? Forced. Tight. Fake. The pleasantries began. Handshakes. Small talk. Grace pulled up her portfolio on that cracked tablet. Professional, precise, unshakable. The Park smiled, nodded. Mr. Park called her impressive. But I noticed something. Too polite. Too careful. Like diplomats before war. Every compliment sounded rehearsed. Every smile lasted 1 second too long. Then, Jin-woo ordered the wine. 2009 Chateau Petrus, $3,800. He didn't ask Grace, didn't consult anyone, just ordered the most expensive bottle on the menu. Not for celebration, for demonstration. I'd seen this move before. Liquid dominance. If you've ever been underestimated, you'll feel what comes next. Keep watching. I brought the bottle. Jin-woo made a show of examining it, swirled it, sniffed it, performed for his audience. Then he looked directly at Grace and said, "You probably haven't had wine like this before." The temperature dropped. Silence spread like frost. Grace's smile didn't reach her eyes. My grip tightened on the bottle. She leaned back, calm, composed. "Actually, I have the 2005 in my cellar. Prefer it." Mrs. Park laughed. Wind chimes. Fake. Sharp. Covering her son's embarrassment, Grace pivoted back to business. $650 million acquisition. Sole tech portfolio worth billions. She laid out projections, timelines, growth forecasts. Professional, precise, unshakable. Mr. Park said, "Impressive again." I counted. That was twice. Mrs. Park nodded. Tight smiles. Polite but cold. Jin-woo stayed silent, jaw clenched, phone in hand. I've seen men intimidated by competence before, but this felt different. Darker. 8:33 p.m. 3 copies of the contract appeared. Legal documents spread across the table like a battlefield. Grace pulled out her Mont Blanc pen. Mr. Park reached for his, the matching one. They were seconds from signing. Seconds from $650 million changing hands. That's when Jin-woo stood up, glass of wine in hand. No one asked him to speak. "A toast!" he announced. The room froze. Grace looked up, confused. The Parks exchanged a glance. My heart hammered against my ribs. Jin-woo raised his glass toward Grace. "To partnerships, and knowing your place in them." 6 words. That's all it took to destroy everything. Then he poured it. 12 ounces of $3,800 wine, tilting from the glass, cascading down. Her shoulder, her suit, her tablet. Deliberate, slow, cruel. I heard the liquid hit fabric, watched red spread like blood. The smell of Petrus mixed with humiliation. My bottle trembled in my hands. And then, they laughed. Not gasps, not shock. Laughter. Mrs. Park clapped her hand over her mouth like she was watching a comedy show. Mr. Park shook his head with that "boys will be boys" smile. Jin-woo sat back down, smirking. Every instinct screamed at me to move, to help, to react. But staff who react get fired. We're furniture. We don't see. We don't judge. 11 years taught me survival means silence. My heart hammered against my ribs, grip white-knuckle tight on that bottle. My throat closed with suppressed rage, eyes burning with tears I couldn't shed. Not for me, for her. Grace didn't move, wine dripping onto her lap, tablet screen cracked, projections ruined, contracts dampening at the edges. Then, something shifted. Her jaw set, shoulders straightened. Something changed in her eyes. I've seen people broken by less, but Grace Okonkwo? She was about to show them what real power looks like. She stood, picked up her ruined tablet, picked up the contracts, $650 million in her hands, looked at each Park family member, then tore the contracts in half. "We're done." 2 words, quieter than a whisper, louder than thunder. Mr. Park's smile evaporated. "Ms. Okonkwo, please. My son, he's had too much." His voice cracked, desperation bleeding through. He reached for those torn contracts like they could be salvaged. But Grace? Ice. "Your son is sober." Her eyes moved to Mrs. Park. "And you laughed." She didn't raise her voice, didn't need to. Grace leaned down, looked Jin-woo dead in the eye. "You think I haven't seen this before? Men like you?" "I started as a secretary, had coffee thrown at me, been told I slept my way to VP. Had investors ask if I really wrote my own analysis. She straightened. I built Meridian from nothing. 650 million? That's 11% of my quarterly revenue. You need me. I don't need you. I'd served billionaires for 11 years. Never heard one admit they needed anyone. Until desperation. Mr. Park stood. You're overreacting. It was a joke. Grace's laugh had no humor in it. Pure steel. Here's a better joke. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling Lee Enterprises. Your competitors? They've been trying to get this portfolio for 2 years. I'll take their $590 million offer instead. Mrs. Park went white. You'd lose $60 million out of spite? Grace collected her bag. No, I'd lose $60 million because the cost of doing business with racists is too high, no matter the number. She walked toward the door, then stopped, turned. Actually, no, I'm calling Lee tonight. I'll take $580 million if they can close by Friday. She was willing to lose $70 million to make a point. That's not spite, that's principle. Subscribe if you've ever wanted to see karma work this fast. As Grace passed table 7, a man stood. White hair, expensive suit, commanding presence. I recognized him immediately. James Chen, chairman of Hanson Global, the Park family's largest investor. Ms. Okonkwo. His voice carried across the restaurant. Every head turned. Silence absolute. I witnessed everything, and I'd like to discuss moving my $300 million stake from Park Industries to any venture you're backing. Mr. Park physically stumbled. James, you can't. His voice broke completely. 11 years I'd served this man. Never saw him beg. Chen didn't even look at him. I can. I've overlooked the Park's reputation because the returns were good. But I won't fund bigots. Bad for business. Worse for conscience. He handed Grace his card. She took it, nodded. No words needed. Then Grace looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time, the invisible became visible. You, what's your name? Marie, I whispered. You saw everything, Marie? I hesitated, then nodded. Good. She pulled out her phone, typed something. 30 seconds later, my phone buzzed. I didn't check it. Not yet. Not while they were still there. 4 minutes of stunned silence. Mrs. Park crying. Real tears this time. Ruined makeup. Mr. Park made 7 phone calls right there at the table. All went to voicemail. Jin-woo just stared at his empty glass. He'd poured $3,800 of wine on a woman. It cost his family nearly $1 billion. 9:02 p.m. I cleared their table. None of them said thank you. They never did. But this time, the silence felt different. Like karma settling accounts. After they left, I finally checked my phone. Venmo notification, $3,800. The exact cost of the wine. The note said, for having to watch that, you deserved better too. 11 years invisible. One woman saw me. Not the wine, not the deal. Me. I cried in the storage room for 10 minutes. The next morning, the business section had a headline. Okonkwo shakes up tech deal. Park Industries loses $650 million merger. Chairman pulls $300 million stake. Smaller line underneath. Lee Enterprises closes acquisition in record 72 hours. Let me break down the math. Park Industries lost $950 million total. Grace closed her deal for $580 million. She chose principal over $70 million and gained $300 million in investor interest. I framed that article, put it in my locker, proof that dignity has a price tag, and sometimes it's worth billions. The Parks closed their restaurant account the next week. Jin-woo's Instagram went private after the story went viral. But Grace Okonkwo? She just closed a $2 billion deal last month. And me? I got promoted to head sommelier. Karma didn't just work. It compounded. I still pour expensive wine. I still serve the powerful. But now I remember, they're not untouchable. Grace taught me something that night. Your worth isn't determined by who sees you. It's determined by who you see when you look in the mirror, and whether you're willing to walk away from anyone who makes you unsee yourself. This wasn't divine intervention. Karma isn't mystical, it's mathematical. The Parks built an empire on arrogance. One act of cruelty revealed the foundation was rotten. James Chen didn't leave because of one wine pour. He left because it confirmed what he suspected all along. Some people think money makes them untouchable. They're wrong. The real power belongs to those who know exactly what they're worth and refuse to accept anything less. Grace didn't lose $70 million. She invested it in her dignity. Best return she ever got. So where are they now? Grace just closed a $2 billion deal, featured in Time 100. The Parks lost 3 major contracts following the investor pullout. Jin-woo's working in a regional office. Social media silent. James Chen invested that $300 million into Grace's new fund. And me? I'm head sommelier now, training staff on dignity and service. Last month, Grace returned to the restaurant, asked for me specifically, left a $10,000 tip, said, "For 11 years of excellence, no one saw." Every time I pour wine now, I think about that night. How 3 people laughed themselves into bankruptcy. How one woman chose dignity over dollars. How the invisible became the most important witness. Makes you wonder, how many other rooms have invisible witnesses? How many other empires are one act of cruelty away from collapse? Drop a fire emoji if you think Grace did the right thing, or a money bag if you'd have taken the $650 million no matter what. Have you ever been treated like you're invisible? Tell your story in the comments. You deserve to be seen. Team Grace or Team Park? Let's debate. But fair warning, I'm blocking anyone who defends pouring wine on people. Here's the real question. Should Marie have said something in the moment? Would you risk your job to defend a stranger? If this story broke your heart, wait until you hear about the homeless man who bought the company that fired him. That video drops Friday. Subscribe so you don't miss it. This channel is where the invisible becomes seen, where karma works overtime, and where dignity always has the last word. Subscribe if you believe character matters more than cash. Welcome to the family. You're not invisible here. Drop your name below so I know you.